This is gonna suck. I do like to try and have some sense of humor when I do these videos because obviously it cheers me up, but this just sucks. For the record, I am working on another video. It's taking a lot of time, it's involving a lot of research. It's gonna be a big, hopefully nice, big, fat, juicy one. So, there is that. It's on free speech and shit, stuff I like. This just sucks. This is horrible. This makes me, like, I know I said this in the Alec Holoka video, but it's the same thing here. I'm like Professor Farnsworth. I want to blast off. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Texas jury rules against dad trying to stop 7-year-old son's gender transition. Court ordered sterilization. Does the kid even have a say? A jury has ruled against the dad seeking to intervene in the gender transition of his 7-year-old son, whose mother says identifies as Luna. Yeah, that's probably not actually true, is it now? It's probably just that you like something to talk about with the gals at the cafe. Oh, I'm so progressive, because my son is a tranny, apparently. Oh, fuck. Sometimes things are just sad and you just have to laugh at what's stupid. Because otherwise you just go insane. Like, that's the whole philosophy of absurdism. Life is inherently meaningless and inherently stupid, and so you should enjoy that and love it, and you just laugh at it because it's dumb. Right, so now this part terrifies the shit out of me. The nation's peak body representing psychologist believes children under 16 should, as in positive, should be allowed to undergo irreversible sterilization processes against their parents' wishes. Would you let them drive? Would you let them drink? Would you let them take meth? Probably not. You know, I'm like hyper-libertarian. I think people, like, I think they should be able to sell heroin, like, at like, the supermarket. You know, with the cigarettes, obviously, but not for the under 18s. Fuck that shit. By the way, leftists, thanks very much for getting me to hate, like, trans people. I never did before. In fact, I was kind of like a trans activist when I was younger. For the record, there's no such thing as a transsexual child. It's called child abuse. Oh, actually, there's another name for it, speaking of psychology. It's called Munchausen syndrome. Munchausen syndrome, yes, as an astute commenter pointed out, used to be that the mother would just poison the kid. Now they get the state to poison them for her. How touching. I'm pro-transsexuality. Do whatever you fucking want, in the same way as, like, if you want to get some plastic surgery, why would I care? Go for it. It's your dime. I'm not okay with the state sponsoring it. I'm not okay with the state subsidizing it. And I'm not okay with it happening to children, because children do not understand the consequences of their actions. I don't care if a parent is doing the deciding. There are certain things that you just don't let children do. I would not be okay with a parent saying, hey, yeah, my child is allowed to do PCP and LSD together with me. Come on, we'll make it a bonding exercise. I'm not okay with that. Take the child away from that parent. They are not fit to be a parent. Don't fuck with children. Children and old ladies. You come after old ladies, I swear to God, I will find you. And I'll put the crazy eyes on you. You do not want me to put the crazy eyes on you. Because I will. Anyway, let's continue with this stupid fucking end times article. A Texas jury has ruled against a father seeking to intervene in the gender transition of his 7-year-old son. Jesus Christ, I can't even remember being 7. I think that it was a long time ago. Jeffrey Younger had sought sole custody of his twin sons, James and Jude, in part over concerns their mother, Anne... I'm not pronouncing that. Anne Georgulas plan to start hormone therapy for James, who she contends is transgender.
Because I'm so totally woke, like, oh my gosh, I'm like totally woke, I'm like totally progressive and shit, because my son is a tranny.
Like, give me praise and attention. Like, yeah, you go back 40 years on this shit and it'd be like, yeah, my son, he has like some kind of brittle bone disease. We're not sure where it comes from. Oh, by the way, would you like to take a drink out of this, lead embossed tea set that I got while I was on vacation in Italy? It won't hurt you, darling. Dr. Gail Gulas, a pediatrician, had initially petitioned a Dallas court to limit her ex-husband's visit with his children, require that he now refer to James as Luna. So it's kind of like, this is compelled speech, yeah. This is what Dr. Peterson warned us about. They're going to force us to say shit. They used to say, like, remember the religious right back in the day, like 2008, and they'd say, like, you can't legalize gay marriage because it's a slippery slope, and then we'll be legalizing like incest, and we'll be legalizing bestiality, and that woman that fell in love with the roller coaster, all that shit. The woman that fell in love with the Berlin Wall, we'll be legalizing that crap. And we were like, nah, it's a fallacy, man. It's a slippery slope. What are you talking about? There's no slippery slope. And so apparently they were right. There is a bit of a slippery slope. Fortunately, not all of us have fallen down, but it does appear that a lot of us have fallen down. Yeah. She literally wants to keep him away from people who will not affirm his gender identity. Fuck you! Fuck your identity! Your identity is like a moving target. You cannot define your identity. You can say what you think might define your identity. Like, okay, I'm Irish, Turkish, I'm a widow. I'm a fucking freak of nature. These are things that constitute me. But those things can, to an extent, change, or at least the value of them can change. And when you're 7 years old, hello, like, fuck me. I can't even remember what I wanted to be when I was 7 years old. Probably like an acrobat or some gay shit like that.
You can't. I can't think.
Because this is madness.
Look, this goes beyond Clown World. This goes beyond fucking Clown World. We'll get into some more about that, but let's read on a little bit before I lose my mind. In response, Mr. Younger asked the court to grant him sole custody, arguing his son was not transgender. Yeah, because you cannot have a transgender child.
My entire concern is with children. My concern is not with young adults deciding to take steps to confirm their gender identity, who they feel they really are. I'm all for you doing whatever you want to do when you're an adult, when your mind is formed. But people change their mind. They change their opinion. They change their thoughts. There's nothing wrong with just deciding to be a gay man. There's nothing wrong with your body, as you grow and mature and develop, you growing out of these ideas. Some will and some won't. And the ones who won't, they always have the option to do something later on in life. But if you do something to hormonally block a child very, very early on, there's no turning back from that. And this was what they were talking about, where people at one point in time wanted to be trans, and they listed several famous examples. And then as they became older, just decided to be gay, including women who wanted to be men, who just became gay women. And I think, what's that girl's name that was in John Wick? Ruby Rose? She was one of those. She wanted to be trans when she was younger, and now she's just a gay woman.
My life would be so much better. And I'm not going to argue with those folks,
I wouldn't argue with those folks either, but you have to address the fact that there are people that have gone through transition surgery and said, I wish to God that I never did this. All surgeries have potential costs. However, according to a Swedish study of 324 patients, 41% of whom were born female, surgery was associated with considerably higher risk for mortality, suicidal behavior, and psychiatric morbidity than the general population. So that's people who got the surgery. My entire concern is that you're making decisions for children. Yeah. And that this is a completely new thing with no historical precedent. We've never done this before. There's not like a history of hundreds of years of hormone blockade blockers being used on young children and whether or not that is healthy and promotes a positive life. I feel like if a child thinks they're a girl, let them live as a girl. But you don't have to hormonally engage with their body with chemicals. It just seems crazy.
Hey, it's like Joe Rogan said, like, hey, if he thinks he's a girl, why not just let him be a girl? Like, who says that he can't just be him? Like, why does it have to be the precise pronouns, the precise name? That stuff matters when you get older. When you're a kid, it's really not that important. And as I said, when you're a kid, your identity is fluctuating rapidly. It's oscillating like a high energy particle, right? So don't sterilize your children, please. By the way, just for anyone who doesn't know, David Raymer was a Canadian male. He was born male. He had a botched circumcision, and he was born as a set of twins. Botched circumcision. He lost his penis, and a doctor who had the worst possible name for any human, Dr. Money, said, I want to turn this kid into a science experiment because, who gives a fuck about a kid, right? And let's raise him as a girl because it'd be important for my research, because he contended that gender was all, it was all nurture. It was all about how you socialize people, kids, basically. So he raised David as a chick. But it didn't work because, even though he was castrated, it didn't work. Once he got to be about, his teen years, it was very obvious that he was not like the other girls. And of course, this was high school, where you literally have to destroy anything that is even slightly imperfect.
Do you have any idea how the teenage female mind works? They will pick apart anything that is not stylized perfection. You are on meth!
I mean, have you ever been to a high school? They will try to get you to kill yourself because they will think it's funny. Teenagers are fucking psychopaths. So David realized he was not a chick, suffered a horrible fucking life of difficult relationships and alcohol abuse until he finally shot himself, Vincent van Gogh style, out in a field with a shotgun. Oh, and the twin brother I mentioned also killed himself when he found out that his sister was actually his brother. Yeah, and none of this, I should point out, was really the mother's intent or fault. She was manipulated and led along by this Dr. Money, great name by the way, who, like I said, wanted to write up that it was all nurture, it was all socialization that caused your gender identity. And he continued to write that up even though the results fucking completely disagreed with his assertions. Doing Flat Earth proud, I think, Mr. Money.
No, I'm not gonna call you a doctor, you piece of shit.
So these are still being referenced today. Let's keep reading. A judge is expected to issue a formal verdict on Thursday in the drawn-out custody battle, the Texan newspaper reports. The case has sparked outrage among conservative and religious circles. How about just in normal human circles? People who don't like abusing children, maybe? People who get annoyed when children are getting abused? Yeah. Because, I don't know if I could call myself a conservative. I suppose I'm a right-wing libertarian, but I'm very libertarian. I'm very pro-hippie freedom bullshit. All that free love and crap. I like that. For adults. Consenting adults. This is nuts. I'm not okay with this. In case it's not obvious. Transgender activists who can fucking eat my sagging white ass. Excuse me, my sagging Middle Eastern ass, but we do look very white, don't we? Transgender activists have welcomed the decision because fuck him, am I right? He's just a little kid. He's our product. He's like a handbag. He's like a little dog in a handbag. We can carry around a little accessory because he makes us look good, doesn't he? Makes us look really tolerant. You know what this is, really? You know what this really is? You know what this really is? Progressives? Leftists? You know what you actually think? Because I do. You think transsexuals are freaks. That's it. You think they belong in a fucking freak show, and that's why you parade them around like little dog in a handbag. Like, look at how progressive I am, because I'm tolerating this hideous freak. Look at me! I'm so progressive, because I'm tolerating this hideous freak of nature. That's how you think.
So fucking obvious.
You think they're freaks. That's why you want to parade them around like some kind of circus sideshow. You know, rather than just like, you know, I think transsexuals are fine. I don't want to parade them around and be like, oh, look, oh, some of my best friends are transsexual. Even my little child. I'm going to lop his wee-wee off and then snip his testicles too, because fuck him. He doesn't get a say in it. See, I don't need to do that, because I just think transsexuals are normal people who, well, maybe have some mental problems, but you know what? If they're adults, they can do what they want with it. You know? Yeah, go for it. I don't feel the need to parade these people around. Just let them go live their lives. Let them do what they want. They want to work at fucking Wendy's or whatever? Go for it. I don't care. I don't feel the need to parade them around like freaks, because I don't think they're freaks. I just think they're people who have mental problems. Everybody's got mental problems, am I right?
They accused the right of whipping up a transphobic panic.
Oh, so arguing that the father was actually doing damage by, you know, preventing the son from being his true self, because we live in a world of fairies and unicorns and all that fucking shit. This is coming from me, the free love freak who's like, yeah, do whatever you want, I don't give a fuck. When it comes to children, though, do not fucking piss me off. I'm very protective when it comes to children. How's my tits looking? They're not falling out, are they? Oh, fucking back. The governor of Texas weighed in on the controversy late on Wednesday. FYI, the matter of 7-year-old James Younger is being looked into by the Texas Attorney General's Office and the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, Greg Abbott tweeted. Good. And so there's the mother who can suck my brass balls slowly. According to the Texan, expert witnesses called by Dr. Giagulas, I don't give a fuck how your name is pronounced, were mostly therapists and counselors who were not at all terrified of losing their job for bigotry and the social outrage mob. Not at all. I mean, yeah, I certainly wouldn't be, you know, terrified of losing my job if I happened to be a doctor and a big fat outrage mob came to me on Twitter saying, how dare you, you bigoted piece of shit, we're going to ruin your life, we're going to ruin your family, we're going to make sure you're homeless and jobless and unemployable, we're going to make sure you have to watch your back every time you walk down the street because Antifa's out and about with bike logs. Not at all. There were some counselors who said James told them that he was a girl. Yeah, I mean, have you ever, like, talked with children who have been victims of sexual assault? Like, as in verifiable via, like, DNA evidence that you have to collect? I should mention, I used to work as a nurse. And when somebody gets accused of, like, raping a child, right? You actually have to get a surgeon to go in and investigate that shit. And I don't mean just with a little, you know, dab up there. I mean like a thorough investigation for DNA evidence, which is why if you get raped, don't tell Twitter. Go to the hospital and collect the evidence. Fucking dipshit. You could talk to these people, these children, who've actually been raped, and we know it because we've collected actual semen from them. They'll tell you silly stories that don't make any sense, right? Really heartbreaking, again, purely by its absurd nature, these crazy stories you get, but they won't tell you that they were raped. Their brain cannot comprehend that. My point is, it's very easy to abuse and mistreat a child and get them to tell lies for you, lies that the child themselves will believe. You could make up a fake story about going camping or some shit. The child will believe it. You could make up a story about there was a big tornado and we had to hide in the cellar. The child will believe it. Their brain can't comprehend the thing they've been through. And when you have a drip feed of Munchausen syndrome, this sort of horrible codependency that you get, where you have a parent telling the child, you're sick, you're this, you're that. Keep doing that and the child will believe it. Why do you think that children who grow up feeling like they're shit end up doing shit things? Why do you think children who are abused end up going on to become the abusers? Because they grow up feeling like shit, they grow up being told that they're bad, they grow up being told that they're thugs, they become those things. It's very easy to mold a child's mind. The child is not the fucking boss in this situation. Now this whole cultural attitude, you know where it came about in the fucking 80s, where all these dumbass psychologists came out with all these self-help books that were stupid, and they had this saccharine attitude of, let your child knows what's best for them. Your child, if they want dessert first, then let them have dessert first. If they want to play until all hours of the night, well then that's just what's best for them. And so you got a generation of fucking pussies. So yeah, Mr. Younger, the father, he can appeal the jury's decision. Can't believe this was a jury thing. Like at first I was thinking, hey, that's a judge decision. They ain't gonna be calling him the hanging judge for nothing, if you know what I mean. But yeah, apparently it was a jury decision. Now the father can appeal, but the son James could already be on puberty blockers. They're gonna fuck up this kid. You know what? Another thing that pissed me off: the boomers. You know the boomers. You know they did a lot of drugs back in the '60s. But once they had kids, they were like, "Don't do drugs, kids. Drugs are bad."
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad. Because drugs are bad. Okay? It's a bad thing to do drugs, so don't be bad.
Oh, by the way, swallow this entire bottle of antidepressants and Ritalin, and I know it'll probably make you shoot up a school and kill yourself, but, well.
Side effects of progress, am I right?
I'm being facetious in case it's not, like, totally obvious. Again, it's like the Alec Haloka thing. It's like, this is needless, it's unnecessary, it's abuse of a young man who does not deserve to be abused, as nobody does. I am fucking pissed off about this because this idiot mother, who obviously is very wealthy, very elite, and obviously runs in these circles where, you know...
My son is so progressive. He's transsexual, which makes me better. Give me attention.
It's called Munchausen syndrome. It's a real thing. It's a subset of codependency disorder. That's also a real thing. Get help, you horrible psychopathic bitch! Dr. Gayo Gula's Fuck Your Name provided a letter from a gay children's therapy. I'm sure they were totally impartial to the situation, not biased at all, recommending that James become a patient of Dallas Transgender Children's Clinic, also totally not biased, whatever the fuck, so that she can receive a... It's a he, by the way. But who gives a fuck? Because I don't really give a fuck about your pronouns. You can suck my pronouns. I don't give a shit if you call me a he or a she or a fucking hippopotamus. So that you can receive a full psychological assessment for gender dysphoria and potentially take hormone blockers. You're gonna ram that shit down the fucking kid's throat, aren't you? You fucking psychotic pieces of shit. Like, I'd rain epithets onto you, but it wouldn't do any good. So they list that he was dressing in girls' clothing, allegedly at age 5. 5-year-old children, they think that they're unicorns. I'm stating the obvious to everybody that has half a brain, and yet, for some reason in this crazy clown world, I feel like I have to state the obvious anyway. children do not know what's best for them. Crazy, isn't it? A mind-blowing idea. So there is a website that the father has launched called SAVEJAMES.com where he urges people to donate towards his legal expenses. Please do if you have any, couple of bucks or whatever to give. Because, yeah, I mean, this could go really bad. So Matt Walsh tweets, I can't get over this case in Texas. A mother decided that her 7-year-old boy is really a girl because he liked the movie Frozen. Yeah, exactly my point. Again, like when I was a kid, okay, I liked a lot of things that boys liked. I liked skateboarding and stuff. Does that make me a dude? Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Children believe in the fucking Easter Bunny!
The fuck's wrong with you?
The husband insisted that he's a boy, probably because he has a penis. Courts got involved, jury just ruled that yes, the boy is a girl, despite the penis, and he will now be transitioned into one. Because fuck the kid! Apparently, jury of 12 says, yeah, fuck him. Isn't it supposed to be a jury of your peers? How shouldn't it be a jury full of fucking 7-year-olds? Oh, that's right, you don't put 7-year-olds on juries. Almost like you don't allow children to make decisions that only adults should make. So this is just a case of a privileged, elite, entitled mother who wants attention, and this is a genuine problem. It's called Munchausen syndrome. Right, so Munchausen, or Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which is also known as factitious disorder imposed on another because the medical community is retarded, apparently, is a condition where a caregiver creates the appearance of health problems in another person, typically the child. This may include injuring the child or altering test samples. They then present the person as being sick or injured. Could be anyone, could be a parent, could just be a patient, This is sort of, again, it's a subset of like, what was the word I said before? Help me. Codependency. Subset of codependency where, you have to, you want to feel needed, right? So like if a person is, hello watch, good to see you working. Subset of codependency where you need to feel needed, right? So you have a spouse that's an alcoholic, right? And you want to feel needed, right? So you don't want them to improve. Very dangerous. Keep your eye out for this in relationships because it's dangerous shit. People do it all the time. It's really creepy. Do not let this happen to you. If a person does not want you to improve yourself or get help for your problems, they might have codependency. This is dangerous shit, it's terrifying, it's scary. And the absolute clown world that we live in these days, like I said, transsexuals are just getting paraded around like freaks by these so-called progressive, or regressives to be more accurate. And it's all just this, virtue signal. It's even worse than a virtue signal. Like I said, it's treating another human being as a purse puppy and saying like, I'm so tolerant because I'm putting up with this freak.
Come on now, come on now, enjoy the humor situation. Come on now, enjoy the humor situation.
So according to Myers on Evidence in Child, Domestic, and Elder Abuse Cases by John E.B. Myers, 2005, Aspen Publishers, starting at page 280, Munchausen syndrome by proxy in adults is a condition characterized by habitual presentation for hospital treatment of an apparent acute illness, the patient giving a plausible and dramatic history, all of which is false. So that is for Munchausen syndrome proper. Munchausen syndrome by proxy is where you're not submitting yourself for these tests, for the attention. You're submitting a young, vulnerable child or perhaps an elder person, or somebody who is disabled, or a pet even, you fucking monster.
What if I'm the monster?
English pediatrician Sir Roy Meadow coined the term Munchausen syndrome by proxy in 1977 to describe adults who use a child as the vehicle for fabricated illness or injury. Donna Rosenberg defined Munchausen syndrome by proxy as illness in a child that is persistently and secretly simulated, lied about, and or faked, and or produced by a parent or someone who is in loco parentis, so in a position of guardianship, and the child repeatedly presented for medical assessment and care. So the child is told that they're sick, and everybody else is told that they're sick for whatever reason. The Iowa Supreme Court described the syndrome as a form of child abuse in which a parent repeatedly presents their child for unnecessary medical treatments by simulating or producing symptoms in the child. The prevalence of Munchausen syndrome by proxy is unknown, although it appears to be relatively uncommon, thank Christ. Mothers are absolutely the most frequent perpetrators of the syndrome, very much like infanticide, sadly. Boys and girls are victimized in roughly equal numbers, how ironic, for our current situation here. And most victims are babies or toddlers because obviously they can't fight back, they have no way of defending themselves. And we have no idea what the prevalence would be for animal abuse in this case because this is only talking about human cases. There is no psychological test that detects Munchausen syndrome by proxy, nor is there a personality profile that describes the quote-unquote typical perpetrator of this bizarre form of child abuse. Although I imagine, just making assumptions here, histrionic personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and bipolar personality disorder probably all would be good contenders if I had to guess. Herbert Schreier wrote, "The primary motivation seems to be an intense need for attention from and manipulation of powerful professionals, most frequently, but not exclusively, a physician." Or the gals at the croquet club, maybe. Munchausen syndrome by proxy manifests itself in many ways, including smothering, poisoning, injecting contaminants into the child, for example, drugs, saliva, salt, urine, feces. California living, eh? Inducing fever, inducing vomiting, fabricating symptoms, and in other ways. And there's a whole host of references here on page 282 if you're interested. For survivors of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, there may be long-lasting psychological and physical sequelae. So, long-lasting effects, essentially. The efficacy of psychotherapy for perpetrators of Munchausen syndrome by proxy is an open question. I imagine it's similar to trying to therapeutize psychopaths, you know, because they just want to manipulate the person doing the therapy, so it's really hard to know how effective it's going to be. Therapy may work for parents who admit that they have a problem, and again, similarly with sociopaths, different to psychopaths, sociopaths often do show signs of improvement if you can get them to sort of agree that they have something to work on, essentially. When Munchausen syndrome by proxy occurs, the child is at risk of serious injury or death, and removing the child from the custody of the suspected offender is typically the only way to ensure safety. Moreover, separating the child from the suspect and documenting that the child's symptoms abate following separation is often the best way to confirm the diagnosis of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. In other words, if you take James away from his psychotic bitch of a mother, and he stops acting like a girl, yeah, we know it's Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Okay? Keep in mind, he's 7 years old. 7! It's very fucking young. Children do not know what's best for them. For children in the hospital, covert video surveillance can be life-saving and is often the only way to catch the abuser in the act. Expert testimony is necessary to prove Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and courts do allow such testimony. In People v. Phillips, for example, the California Court of Appeal approved expert psychiatric testimony on the syndrome to establish the defendant's motive to poison her baby by putting large amounts of salt in the baby's food. Munchausen syndrome by proxy is an accepted diagnosis. Now, ironically, coming up here, the Texas Court of Appeals, presumably the same court that Mr. Younger will be going through, the Texas Court of Appeals provided a thorough analysis of the scientific reliability of expert testimony on the syndrome, concluding that the trial court did not err in determining the scientific reliability of Munchausen syndrome by proxy testimony. So in other words, if we can get a psychiatrist to say, yeah, the mother is really fucking up her kid, doing this codependency thing called Munchausen syndrome by proxy, then maybe the appeals process might work. And hopefully, yeah, I thoroughly encourage everybody to donate to Mr. Younger's cause here, because this is just child abuse, plain and simple. And the fact that people are putting up with this just shows what kind of a clown world we've got going here. I can't make this shit funny.
It seems ill-advised. It seems like this movement of acceptance and progressive thinking in many ways is a fantastic thing. It's a fantastic movement. But this seems to me to be a leap, and that you're making this leap to confirm your ideology and to confirm that, you know, you're 100% cool with trans people and you're 100% cool and you're going to recognize this child as trans, but you're doing something to this child's body that you can't turn around. And if this child decides at whatever age we decide that you can make rational decisions to transition as trans, let them fully develop first. Let them be a person. Let them make these decisions. If you want to identify as a woman and you want to keep your penis, that should be fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to keep a functional penis, you want to identify as a woman and not even take hormones, who cares? Do that.
Come on now.